Hello everyone and welcome to Twitch Tales, episode 63 of the Running Total. Where did we leave off in the last episode of the Apis story? Well, Apis was starting in the barn of the Colton's farm in Shadridge, talking to a friend by the name Mosh. Mosh is a werefox human and had just confided in Apis that they had killed someone during the last full moon. Apis, being a friend, said, "Let's not worry, let's not freak out. Let's be calm and collected and think about this straightforward. Tell me the details, what happened." And in the description of it, Apis said, "Are you sure they actually died? Let's go and find the area that it happened and actually investigate and make sure that what happened actually happened and not freak out about something that we don't actually know to be true." So they convinced Mosh to take them out to to an area of the forest out west of Shadridge proper in the Fair Woods. And Mosh was explaining on the way that while they were in werefox form, they thought that they would be safer away from the town of Shadridge and into the forest where there's only beasts to kill and there's no humanoids to worry about. They knew about the elves to the north of Shadridge, which is why they specifically went west to get away from the elven villages and everything as well. Unfortunately, they did not know about Beladel and Olathea, the elven couple from the Paneth treasure room of Lucifreak, who had been let free by your slaying of the dragon, and were heading back towards Arachel in the elven villages. And so Beladel and Olathea happened to coincide with Mosh's transformed form and get attacked by him. He lost control of his form, seeing humanoids to hunt, and so he hunted them. When they saw him, they tried to flee by running. They kind of spurred on that need to hunt even more and pounce. He attacked and killed them, as also he understood. But in asking him to reflect on that and actually think about the specifics of what happened, he began to remember that no, he doesn't think he actually killed the woman of the couple, the elven woman Olathea. He's pretty sure that she managed to run away. The man, though, he must have died. He kept telling himself. But when you got to the actual site and investigated the dried blood and the footprints that were left behind, you discovered that no, even the man got away, most likely, because he was distracted. He was disrupted from his attack by a couple of armoured folk, a couple of armoured footprints, similar to those you'd seen in the Goblin village way back in the day. So seeing these armoured footprints, you asked Mosh if there were armoured people present, and he seemed to remember, "Oh yes, actually, now that you mention it, you are bringing back vague memories. There were a couple of armoured people, heavily armoured people, who came and attacked me and drove me away from my kill, away from Beladel. And so he might have survived. Then you found a cave. It was getting late. You found a cave. You sat down in this cave for a night's rest. And in this cave, you got out your bone dice and you asked them a question. You asked, did everybody that Mosh attacked in his werefox form on the night of the most recent full moon survive to this day?" And the answer was a definitive wheel, or yes, affirmative. So you confided in Mosh that he needn't worry. He didn't actually murder anybody, but it came as minor consolation to him, because if the victim doesn't die, then there's a very good chance that they will, when the werefox curse starts to take hold of them and force a very painful and dangerous transformation in themselves. So Mosh, feeling very guilty about that, wants to find Beladel and make sure that he survives his transformation and into the process of becoming a werefox. And that's where we're picking up this time. So you have a long rest in this cave. You have a bedroll, which comes with like a built-in sort of a blanket situation as well. You have rations, You have torches. You're in Outlander, so you can easily find food in the forest around you. As you bed down for the night, let me just check what weather it is. It is spring. You're getting into just past the middle of spring, so probably pretty rainy. Yep. It is drizzly this evening, so you're glad to be in the cave, but it does mean that any tracks are likely to be getting less and less easy to follow. As you finish your long rest, you get all of your spell slots back and all your hit points back, and any hit dice that you'd spent. I don't believe you'd actually spent any, but you're all refreshed up to full. It is now the 26th. It is now the 26th of Altabris, and you are out in the forest with a werfox, hunting down a werfox victim. What do you want to do? We should leave him here or send him back to the Colton so the elves don't get cranky and decide he has to pay for his crimes of spreading a curse. Very good point. If you suggest that to him, though, you know from speaking with him the night before, he is pretty adamant on being there for Belladel, even if they don't want him there. He knows firsthand what it was like to go through the werfox curse transformation alone. He does not want to put somebody else through that. First things first, perception check. Make sure no one crept up during the night. Good question. Good thinking. Redial. Let's roll you a check. All right. So we've got our Mel dice in the corner there. We've got our other Mel dice in the other corner, and we've got our Apis dice down here. Let's go with this green gemstone dice for perception check. Just looking around us in the morning. That's a nat 1. So we are rubbing sleep out of our eyes and not thinking to check outside of the cave. So hopefully nobody's snuck up on us, because it's a nat 1 plus our perception of like 8, I think. So it's still like a 9, but not really very perceptive this morning. Can we convince Mosh at least to go to a good village first, to pass the message on to Belladel at Arachel to see if he even wants help? You don't know if Belladel's even at Arachel. You know he was headed for Arachel, but you would know as an outlander who understands the lay of the land and things, that you were coming in from the west, or from your perspective, this direction. And the 4 elven villages are spread out kind of diamond-shaped. How am I doing this with my fingers like that? And you're coming in from the west, and Arachel would be this one up here. And this one's Moonglofow, so there's a good chance that he came across Moonglofow first, or even maybe Helwood, depending on which direction he went. Is Mosh still with us? He is, yeah. We're in the cave, sleeping in the same cave with Mosh. Arachel's not at all welcoming to dwarves, or I imagine humans and werfoxes. Yes, Arachel is full of very what's a nicer word for racist? They're full of very secluded elves that have elven superiority in their mindset. Or at the very least, all of the elves from Arachel that you've met so far have had that attitude. Have we already explained to Mosh that there are multiple villages and they're not particularly welcoming to outsiders? Well, as Mosh starts to wake, and you have this discussion with him about the day, you say, "Are you aware of the village layouts and things?" And he says, "Not particularly." And you say, "Well, there's 4 villages. There's Moonglofow. That's probably the closest one to where we are. Moonglofow is a village of drow elves, or darker-skinned, white-haired elves, tend to live outside of direct sunlight. They are miners and blacksmiths. They live in that mountain that we were seeing earlier when we were up on the hill and you could see a little further. You saw the like loner kind of hillside, the bit taller mountain. You guess another one. They live in that mountainside, mining and blacksmithing for the other 3. Then there's Helwood. Helwood is a town of sort of hunters and gatherers and leather workers, skinners, tanners, that sort of thing. They make the use of animal products and farming products and things to mainly provide the food for the other towns. There's Dublin-Illawad. Every full moon, they have some flowers that they cultivate there called prin flowers that they use into salves and potions and healing and things like that. And then there's finally Arachel. Arachel's the only one of the 4 villages that I've not personally been to, but it is the sort of protection of the other 4. They put themselves as the kind of authority of the other 4. I think they see themselves as the ones that are kind of in charge, the governing village of the 4 sisters. They're, as far as I know, they're seers and diviners and soothsayers and things. They see the future a little, and they use that to keep everyone safe, or so they say. I will say that I have met some resistance on account of being a dwarf in those villages, in each of them, but mostly I get that impression from the people of Arachel. They are not as welcoming to outsiders. And so if we are heading for Arachel, which I happen to know was the destination of the man you attacked, if we do end up heading there, if that's where he went, there's a very good chance that we won't be welcome there, and even less chance that we'll be welcome if he finds out, if the people of that town find out. He says, "My curse, yeah. Yes. I just want you to be aware of what we're doing and where we're going here." He says, "Yeah, okay." History check on the armoured people. Well, I will tell you, Adam, you've already encountered a couple of these tracks, but you've never actually met anyone who's left the tracks. You've heard secondhand from Mosh about them. They were he remembers very little detail because he was in his werfox at the time when he met them, and he was kind of in the middle of a full moon frenzy. So he's been able to tell you very little other than the fact that they were humanoid, bipedal, about the size of a human, and armoured. And all that you know is that pretty much the same thing, that the depressions in the mud from their footprints and things is that of heavily armoured human-sized bipedal creatures with armoured footwear. Alright, so what else? What do you want to do next? You have told Mosh of the 4 villages, which acted as a recap for you guys if you are new to the game. Those are the 4 villages that you are heading towards. What's your intention? So, let's talk about how they should approach this. I think you maybe gather whatever you need to help the victims. I'll go to the village and see if I can find them. That way you're not staying around with us in case they're threatening towards you. He said that there was Monkshood, Wolfsbane, and Belladonna that you can, and he says, yeah, they all have different purposes, but they're all useful in various ways. He says if you can search for some of that, maybe that's something we could do. I can go ahead to the villages. They know me a little more. They're more likely to accept me, at least. Not Arachel, but the others perhaps. And then I can come get you, or you can meet me there later. Can we suggest you stay here while we go to a nice village, pass a message along? Will he listen now he knows Arachel is mean? Yeah, maybe. I'll approach village with caution, see if we can view from said person from afar before they entering the village, yeah. Being injured, they probably went to the closest village, so I think it would be smartest to just head to the closest one. You would know, Apis, that the closest one would be Moonglofow, the drow village. Shouldn't meet back at the attack site. Do you have an idea of where to meet afterwards? So what's your plan? Are you as a collective, Apis? You are agreed that you are going to head off to Moonglofow, which happens to be the closest elven village. You're going to leave Mosh somewhere in the woods nearby, trying his best to collect any of the herbs that he's talked about. Talk about the Moonglofow, the Belladonna, and the Wolfsbane. Yep, you're all in agreement about that. And then what's your intention after that? Like, if you do find Moonglofow and you do find Belladale there, you then disappear back to find Mosh and bring him along, or like take it as it comes there? Or are you going to tell Belladale, come this evening after I've had time to talk to some people and get them ready for your response? We talk to them first, see if we can convince them to come along. So we talk to the Elven village and then see if we can convince them to come back to Mosh in the woods rather than the other way around. The second option. So so tell him to come to the town this evening, like at nightfall or whatever, and then we've got all day to like try and convince them that he's okay before he arrives. Meet at the edge of town at nightfall. Okay. We'll see then. This sounds like a majority consensus. So Apis decides, through the majority of their synapses agreeing, it seems, that they're going to leave Mosh to do his foraging, seeing if he can find any of the belladonna and stuff that he needs, while you go to Moonglofow and try and find out what happened. Did Belladel end up coming here? Did he survive his infection last night? All of the rest of it. Is he infected at all? All of that sort of stuff. Okay, so that's what we do. We finish eating our morning rations, our breakfast, as it were, and we we wish him luck with his foraging for the day. So that I don't forget, I'm going to roll for a forage on Mosh's behalf here, just to see how well he does at finding things. Plus his... Okay. Did the dice reset on the long rest? Yes, it did, yeah. So you get once per day, resetting on a long rest, you get to use your bone dice to ask one question, to which you get a truthful yes or no response. If you ask it a second question within that 24-hour window before you have a long rest, then you might get a truthful answer, but you might get a random answer, and you don't know what the percentage chance is of that. So, Apis, you head off towards the Moonglofow village on your own, well, with Mel. Mel is your giant bee companion. For anyone who doesn't know or is new to Twitch Tales, you have a giant bee. Buzz. I don't have an Apis mini. Maybe I should get myself an Apis mini from Hero Forge. But you have a giant bee companion with you as you walk through the forest. There's some scale for you. Okay, so you've set off towards Moonglofow, leaving Mosh to do his foraging. I just rolled for Mosh. You'll find out how that goes next time you catch up with him. In terms of Apis's ability to find their way to Moonglofow, it's not going to be very difficult, because Apis is an outlander and a ranger, and you're in your favoured terrain, i.e. forests, so it's going to be super easy for you to find a large landmark that is essentially this hill. It's not really a mountain, it's just a very large hill, and Moonglofow is kind of in the side of it, and so you make your way towards it easily enough. However, this is a relatively dangerous part of the forest, as you have discovered before with your tracking and encounters that you've had in the past. I will have you make a perception check. I'll turn on the dice cam. And with your perception check, as you are going, you get your forest bonus, which is good because that's a 3. A 3 on the dice, plus your 2 from wisdom is a 5, plus perception. You get to add your proficiency bonus to the roll twice. You get to add, you get the perception proficiency bonus, and then you get your forest bonus proficiency bonus as well. So a lot. That is 3 plus 8, so an 11. Even rolling a 3, you get an 11 on the perception check. Not bad at all. The other dice from now on, we'll alternate between them, eh? Even though that's not how dice works. As you're going, it doesn't take you very long to find the hill in the distance and to get your bearings and to start heading towards it. And it doesn't take you very long from that point to get to the point where you are actually approaching the bottom of the hill. You're listening out for threats and you're looking out for dangers, and you're not seeing anything yet on the way. As you approach the base of the hill and start to ascend to the cave mouth that is the entrance to the Moonglofow village, you do remember that as you've approached Moonglofow before, they have a couple of guards on duty, usually with loaded crossbows for dangers from the forest, and so you usually have to announce your arrival before getting up and close to the cave mouth, because otherwise there's a chance you might startle them and they'll shoot out of instinct. So what do you do, if anything, to announce that you are arriving at the village? Play the panpipes. You could. Not with shooting an arrow. You do have infinite arrows now, as far as you're aware anyway, with your bag of your quiver of holding. Just shout, "Good morning, friends." Call out to them. Panpipes. Just call out or play the panpipes. Don't we usually hit the wall with an arrow? We have usually hit the wall with an arrow, but the last time that we did that, we said, like, "Hey, that's how Varen taught us," and the guard on duty was like, "Ugh, the people from Helwarin. I don't know why they do it that way." And you got the impression that was just a regional thing. There's quite a few people wanting to use the panpipes, so let's do it. We get our panpipes out and we play a little ditty for them on the panpipes to announce our arrival. 12 on our performance check. Look at that. When it doesn't matter, when it doesn't actually do anything for us, we get a 12 on our panpipes, plus our charisma +1, plus proficiency of panpipes. That's another +3, so that is a 16 total. 16 on our panpipes is very good. We do not get forest bonus for the panpipes. We get out the panpipes, we play a little ditty. It's actually very good, and it's a good enough tune that it gets one of them curious enough that he comes to the mouth of the cave and looks out with his crossbow in hand. I'm gonna roll perception on him to see, like, if he can see you. He's surveying the whole land. He's got a lot of space to look at. Ooh, 3, nah. So he comes out and he's like trying to understand where the music's coming from, but it's not obvious. And he goes back in and like 2 or 3 of them come out. And you see that there's 2 or 3 of these quite armoured drow creatures holding crossbows and looking for you. One thing you notice is that they look to be more armoured than you've seen them before. They have been armoured, these guards, but they have not been this heavily armoured before. They are not fully plated, but they definitely have breastplate on now and leg guards. They don't seem to be wearing Sabaton shoes, though. You continue up the hill, like, playing, and you give them like a bit of a wave to make it easier to see, and eventually one of them sees you and turns the crossbow towards you. Let's see if any of them remember you. Let me pull up my details. Trell was the head guard here. Let me give it a percentage chance. What chance is it that Trell is on guard right now? He is. Trell is on guard right now, which is lucky, because he's the only guard that you've actually spoken to before. As you're approaching, you realise that the difficulty they were having in seeing you is because it is daylight now. It is morning time. The sun is out, and based on the direction of Moonglofow being on the western side of the Four Sisters, its mouth faces east towards the rest of them, and it is the morning. So you're getting the eastern sun right into the cave, and being that they're drow, they're all having a harder time looking at you. But eventually, once you get close enough and you realise this, and you go, you stop playing and say, "It's just me, it's Apis," and realising that they couldn't see you tremendously well, you help them out with explaining. "It's me, Apis. I'm the dwarf that came by," and one of them says, Oh, Apis, yes, you gave us a bit of a startle. Just make sure we know who you are in future. We're a little on edge at the moment. Come on up, quick as you can. As you get there, two of them don't lower their crossbows, still readied at you, while Trell lowers his and pulls you up to him. The other two flanking you on either side, and he says, "If you wouldn't mind, could I just make sure we can see your hands?" And you put your panpipes away and put your hands up. And he walks over and he just like touches the side of your face, and he like does a little physical inspection with his hand. His other hand is kind of holding his crossbow, but it's down lowered to his side as he's sort of like touching you, runs his hands through your hair. He grabs some of your clothes and kind of just tousles them a little bit. He pats you down and sort of pats the longsword on your hip and the bow on your other shoulder. Tell me, when was the last time you were here? When was the last time you were here, he asks you. Let's find out from your, because Apis would probably remember better than the chat will. So when was the last time you were here? It was in Yolabris, definitely, about a month ago. It was, Apis wouldn't necessarily remember to the day, but it was for the chat's purposes, it was the 15th of Yolabris, and it is now that was the first time you were there. The last time you were there was the 21st of Yolabris. It is now the 26th of Eltabris, so just over a month ago. When was the last time you were here? He says. And you say, when we were dropping off some goblin ears from memory. And he smiles and says, yes, it's him. It's them, sorry. And the two guards on either side lower their weapons. Says, sorry, we have to be a little more stringent with our security these days. Come on in. What brings you back to to Moonglofow? If you don't mind me asking, why the extra security? See, it's all orders from Arachel. There's an enemy that we know little about at the moment, and we've been told to not accept strangers or people that we do not know into the midst, and so we have to just be assured that everybody we meet is actually somebody that we know. They have mentioned to us that there may be shapeshifters around. Do we still have Belladell's pack? I mean, that's up to you guys, really. Belladell's belongings. He had a small traveller's pack with him that was left behind when he was attacked. You did find it during the investigation, which is why you know it was Belladell that was attacked. Did you want to keep it on you or leave it with Mosh? We know an elf named Belladell, so he was heading up this way. You see, I was heading this way because Belladell said he was heading this way. We wanted to check up with him. They look at one another and they say, "You know Belladell? How?" And he says, "You say, oh, I've met him before." What do you answer to? How do you know him? Yes, we have it. All right, so you guys have the Belladell's pack with you. We think a friend might be hurt, and we have their stuff we found in the forest. I think they might have come here. You see the two other guards, not Trell, but the two others kind of like glance at each other, and Trell just keeps his eyes trained on you. What makes you think he was attacked or hurt? Well, we were tracking him. It seems there was a lot of blood. He was heading in this direction, and I happen to know it was the closest village that I know of anyway. Right. Tell them about Liz Freak. Okay. So you say, I know Belladell from recently. since the last time I was here, I went to help Fonderg. And while I was in Fonderg, there was a young dragon attacked as a green dragon. Trell just keeps listening. His eyes are... he's definitely paying close attention to everything you're saying, and the other two are sort of wordlessly communicating, it seems, with like slight glances and knowing nods. There was a green dragon captured me, and Beladel was one of the other captives, one of the other elves that he captured. I helped to slay the dragon, and after it was dead, when you say slay the dragon, there's like a cocked eyebrow from like all three of them. Like, oh, okay. See, I helped to slay the dragon, and after it was dead, Beladel was freed along with the rest, and Beladel mentioned that he was going to be heading to his hometown of Arachel. Right. Trell says, do you happen to know what attacked him? Tell the truth, don't say. No? That's what I'm hoping to find out from him. I'm hoping to find that out from him. Right. Because you do specifically know what attacked him, and you're trying to avoid the question, even if you're not saying the words that are untrue, you are lying by omission. So this is going to be a deception check to see how well you keep a poker face and don't let on the fact that you do know what attacked him. Alright, so dice cam. 18, not bad. 18 plus your deception of 1. You are not proficient in deception, despite the number of times you've tried it. So it's just a straight plus 1. 19. Right. Well, I do have some news for you. Beladel did come by here, indeed. It was on the night of the full moon. He was in a very bad way. We're not sure exactly how he made it here. He is unfamiliar with what happened that night. I think he might be blocking some of it out as a coping mechanism. But we've heard from his wife. You know his wife. You say I didn't really get to know her very well, but Olathea, wasn't it? Yes, Olathea came by first, and she was in hysterics. She was. We should sit down somewhere. I'm sorry. Please. And he gestures further into the cave. You follow him further into the cave, and there's like a chairs and tables set up where they obviously sit down themselves and rest when they're not directly standing and keeping an eye out of the front of the cave. So he sits you down in this cave, and he says, as he pours you out something from a flask, he says that Olathea came through. She was in hysterics about having been attacked by a great beast. What she described seemed very fox-like, a canine of sorts, something large, like a slender wolf. She kept saying a wolf, but more slender, and a reddish wolf. And then later in the evening, Beladel turned up. He was on death's door. We managed to keep him alive with various of our potions and tinctures. Thankfully, with Arachel's warnings, we have been stocking up the various villages on as many herbs and potions as Dublin-Illawad can provide for us. So we managed to keep him alive, but he was in a very bad way. For the rest of the night, he was struggling, tossing and turning. The next day, we managed to escort him to Dublin-Illawad, where they are more proficient at healings. And as far as I'm aware, he's been spending the rest of his time there. I do not want to alarm you if he was a friend, but I would be prepared for the worst if I were you. So he arrived alone on that night? Yes. There was just like nothing with him, not an animal or a friend or nothing. Why do you ask? Should there have been something following? Puckfin, he already mentioned that his wife arrived earlier in the night. So Olathea ran from the attack, but then she would have arrived at Moonglofow first, and then later on in the evening, Belladil arrived. It's just that there were multiple tracks. I saw armoured footprints along with his. Right. Thank you for that. Tell me about them. Armoured footprints. What size? And he starts asking you specifics about these footprints. It seems that Trell is getting into a particular mindset with this extra news, and it might have. In fact, I'll roll an insight check, see what you do glean from this. Insight of 8 plus your wisdom of 2. That's a 10. With your insight of 10, it's harder to read exactly what's going on. You're kind of like glancing between the three guards, and so you're missing some things, but it seems that he's getting into military mode. He's got extra information now that somehow means something to him. Tell me about them. Well, they were definitely humanoid footprints. The depressions would indicate something of human size, maybe a stocky man, like a muscular man of some kind. Definitely armoured footprints, so I'd say anybody wearing sabatons is likely to be wearing other armour as well, which would explain the extra weight in the depressions. Definitely not on horseback, no other creatures with them. Explain about as much as you can about the footprints. And so none of them were with him. And he says, no, but we were. It confirms our suspicions that he could not have survived the journey through the forest on his own with the injuries he had. He would likely have been escorted to the base of our mountain and left alone to climb. Whatever escorted him did not want to come to our village, it seems. This is the second time that we've seen the tracks as well, and you exposition dump that you mentioned. I was fighting goblins a couple of months ago now, and not too far south of Helweren, and I destroyed the goblin camp, but I tied one of them to a tree because I was interrogating him, and then when I went back to that tree, the ropes were cut, the goblin was missing, and leaving the area was some animal footprints and some of these sabaton tracks as well. So we think that for whatever reason, goblins. Okay, but the feet were much too large for goblin tracks, so perhaps hobgoblins. And one of the other ones says, yes, that would make sense. He says, right. It seems that all of them are making conclusions that they're not outwardly sharing yet. I'll tell you what I know, but I need to know what you guys are thinking too. I need you to share with me what's happening. Why is this information to you? Trell looks at the others and says, "It's a matter between us and Arachel. It's nothing that will need to concern you." Is he wearing armoured footwear? Trell is not wearing armoured footwear, no. Trell is wearing breastplate and leg guards. He's also wearing some greaves. Greaves is the leg guards, and braces on his arms. But his hands and feet are unarmoured. And his head is as well. You mentioned it being on edge. He says, yes, there's a lot going on for for the Four Sisters at the moment. Arachel is insistent that there is a war that we are fighting, and we have yet to fully understand what it is that we're fighting in this war. Why would hobgoblins help a wounded elf? Well, that's our next concern as well. With Arachel's warnings of shapeshifters and things not being as they seem, if I'm honest with you, I'm worried that Beladel could be some kind of a spy for them. Perhaps against his will. Without knowing exactly what he was attacked by and what the situation was, it could be that his injuries were faked. Well, his injuries were very much real, but they could have been staged in order to get him into under our defences. Well, I'm easily concerned and have been known to solve all kinds of problems, so maybe I can help. Yes, maybe. I intend to go see Beladel. If there's some issue between you all that may cost me some skin, I would very much appreciate knowing. You will have no problems between the villagers, with the exception of Arachelus, as you are well aware. Yes, I am. Dublin-Illawad will show you no hostility, especially after your help in the last harvest, as I'm told. Could the hobgoblins have troubles with the shapeshifters as well? It's possible, yes. If we are still speculating that they are indeed hobgoblins. Well, thank you for the information. Is there anything else you can tell me? I mean, there's a great deal I could tell you. You would need to be more specific with what you're asking. Is there anything I can do for you? It is difficult to know what there is to do without knowing exactly what it is we're fighting. Things in the forest are different of late. There is an air of... And one of them says, Llathrend. He says, yes. But what is the word for that in the common tongue? Of late there is an air of danger, an air of... I do not know how to translate the feeling. It is unease. Unease, yes, perhaps. Doom. Doom is perhaps a little too strong a word, but of that ilk, yes. There is something in the forest that is not meant to be here. It is something that is outside, something that is foreign, something, a feeling of the forest that has all of the animals on edge. And we feel it too. When did you first notice it? For the last month or so it has been growing. It is now at the point we cannot deny it's there, but it is hard to know a delineation of when exactly it began. Is this something that only happens during full moons? No, it is. We all noticed it from about. I'm not sure, from about the time of the last full moon, but we haven't started openly discussing it and trying to name it, trying to understand what it is. Of course, there is an element that could just be paranoia, but it feels like there is something else. Is that something that happened a month ago for us? About a month ago, you were tracking the Sabaton dudes up into the great expanse north of here. When you gave up on the tracks, you went to Moonglofow to run an errand, and by the time you came back, you were like, you couldn't find the tracks again. And you decided to go back to Shadridge. When you arrived back in Shadridge, there was a necromancer at work raising some shadows from people. That reminds you of that Sally arc of the campaign. You say, are any of your people getting weaker, especially the old folk? And Trell cocks his head and says, I mean, old folk tend to get weak, but not notably so. Nobody's getting artificially weaker at an increasing rate, or like an alarming, suddenly one day they're fine and within a week they're dead. No, nothing like that. This sense of unease is growing or concentrated. It is not anything that we can put our finger on. It is just a sense from the forest. How long ago was it since we fought Sally? I want to say about 3 or 4 weeks. I can't remember exactly. Less than a month, I'm pretty sure. Let me check my notes real quick for you. You first heard that Edith isn't feeling great on the 23rd of Yalabris. You fought Sally on the... You chased Sally out of Shadridge on the 24th of Yalabris. So just over a month ago. A little bit over a month ago. So when we first saw those tracks, they were heading north of here. They were slightly west, a couple hours walk west into the forest, and they were heading north. Thank you for that. I will keep that in mind. Did we tell them about the blights in the forest? No, you did not. Oh, also, it's coming to mind now. I'm sorry, it was over a month ago now, so I'd forgotten details, but around the same time that we were following those tracks, there were living plants. There were like plants that were drinking blood. I saw one of them rip apart, and at that, all 3 of them get very much on edge, and one of them says "Lathinit," and the other one says, "Yeah, what's the And Trell says, the plants were drinking blood. Tell me about these plants. He said, they were like small twig-like creatures, and one of them says, yes, blights. Blights. Confirmation. Where did you see them and how long ago? So as I say, about 2 hours west of here, directly. Around there, I was attacked. They were definitely twig-like creatures that attacked. They tore apart a rabbit and drank blood from them. Then there was this other creature that was like more tree-sized, kind of like a sapling-sized thing, like pine needles, and it like flung pine, and they're all kind of nodding and whispering to each other in Elvish, sort of confirming theories and things. He says, "This is bad news. That is the sort of sign that we are looking out for, the things that confirm there is indeed unease in the area. Those creatures you have encountered are known as blights, in the common tongue anyway, Lathrek in Elvish, and they are what is the word for the wanter, and one of the other 2 guards says vampire. Says yes, vampire. Vampire, you have heard of vampires? I'm just going to roll a history check on Apis, just to there we go, history check for Apis, see how much you know about vampires. A 4, not a lot. You've heard of them, but not a lot. History you are not proficient in, so just a +3 takes it to a 7. With a 7, you've definitely heard of vampires. You know the general mythology of they are humanoid creatures that will drink blood, and that's pretty much all you know about them. And you explain that, and he says, yes, well, it is like that, but as a plant. If the story goes that one of the plants of the forest was growing or planted over the corpse of a vampire, and as its roots dug down into the vampire's body and drew from it its life force and energy, and it turned the tree itself into a sort of vampire tree. They are known as the Gulthias tree. And these Gulthias trees can spring up in areas of forest that is dead or dying or influenced by badness. Malfences? No, they're trying to come up with the common word for malfeasance. So, eventually you say like just areas of bad forest. Yes, he says yes. Whatever the word is, there is reason for these trees to come about that we do not know. And once one of the trees comes about, they will influence the plants around to start to change or to grow into these other vampiric trees, these other vampiric plants. They can quite quickly spread more of this this feeling through the forest, this uneasiness. And eventually it can get too much to handle. These trees, these Gulthias trees, they need to be sought out and destroyed. And then the one he's talking to, he turns and leaves the cave, heads to the back of the cave and down the stone steps that you know there. Heads into Moonglofow proper to deliver a message, it seems. How do you destroy a tree like that? As I've never done it or known anybody who has, but as the story goes, they are simply trees. As long as you can survive its abilities on you, anything that can destroy a tree, drop it down, burn it. Tell them about Sally as well. While we're on the topic of these trees and drinking blood and other necromantic, that is the word I was looking for earlier. Necromancy, yes. That is the undead, yes, bringing undead. And you say, yes, that's right. While we're on the topic of that, there's something else you should know about as well. You see one of them, you see the other guard kind of put his hand down to his crossbow, just keeping himself careful in case there's whatever you're about to do or say. You see, there's a necromancer I chased out of Shadridge. Do you know Shadridge? And Trell says, yes, that is the small human settlement that is encroaching on our forest. You say, yes, that one. Well, there was a young woman, human woman there by the name of Sally. She was doing some of this magic. She was killing people, weakening them over a few days, and then when they died from their weaknesses, when their muscles were all withered away, their shadow would somehow be animated. I'm just going to roll for him on an Arcana check to see if he'd heard of that. Charles says, yes, I've heard of similar sort of things, but not with shadows. You say, yes, well, she seemed to be using shadows. Before she managed to do this too many times, she killed a small number, maybe 4 or 5 of the people of Shadridge, and then we attacked her and drove her out of Shadridge, and she ran into the Fair Woods. So she could be responsible for some of this. It's possible, I would say. It's even if she's not responsible, I'd say it's important that we are aware of her existence. She managed to escape us and evade us. We tried tracking her, but she'd gotten too far. Right. Well, thank you for that. And the other one, he stays with them though, because he's not going to leave him alone with you. But eventually, not too long later, the third guard comes back again, and he talks to him. Sally, and they bit back and forth, and then the guy leaves again to take another message to the people of Moonglofow. Look at the one with his hand at the ready. I'm here as a friend, so save your bolts. You'll get no threats from me. I hope so. What else? You say, oh, also Sally, after we chased her out, a few days after that, apparently, she managed to sneak back into the village and get a couple of her books back. Some of the books on necromancy or something, I imagine, maybe her spell books or something. She managed to collect those again from Shadridge. And Chell says, after you chased her out for murdering, she managed to sneak back in unaware. And you say, well, Shadridge doesn't reside in a cave. It's much less defensible from outsiders walking into the village. It's not a walled town. It's a very small town of only a dozen or so buildings at the moment. It's not like there's a lot of guards to prevent her from walking back in the middle of night. Yes, I suppose not. So is there anything more you can tell me about this threat that you're being vague about? He says, I'm being vague because that's all that Arachel has told us. Arachel has been for over a month now requiring us to double our efforts in mining and smithing. We have all been required to wear much more armour, and we are wielding newer swords than ever before. Arachel has also been supplying itself with more of the weapons and armour from us, and all that they have told us is to stay vigilant about any threats. It seems that their soothsaying and future predicting is not as exact a science as smithing is. They have been either telling us all that they want to or all that they can. She uses her magic to trick the village people. Do the other of the four sisters have a way to be safe? They're a lot more open than yourselves here in this cave fortress. He says, Arachel is well defended in the trees. Dublin-Illawad and Helwyrn are a lot more open. Helwyrn, due to its nature, is slightly more protected from threats from the north or the Great Expanse, because they are the southernmost of the four sisters. Of the four of us, Dublin-Illawad is probably the least defensible. Is he a friend to us? No, he's not. He's definitely not a friend. You've only met this guard a couple of times before. He is friendly, but he is definitely not a friend. He's not even an acquaintance at this stage. He's just some guy you're familiar with. Right then, I'll make sure to keep a sharp eye out for anything. Can you give me directions to where Belladel is? He says if he's around, he will be in Dublin-Illawad, I imagine, unless he's fully regained his strength, and then he may have returned to his hometown. Thank you for your hospitality and information. I wish Arachel would share with you. I'll go carefully and cautiously with vampires and things in the woods now. Before we go, definitely find out if there's a way of announcing ourselves that will not risk being shot at should we return. Is there a way for me to announce that I'm coming that doesn't get you shot? He says, yes, if you just announce loudly that you're here, call out, we can usually understand and hear. Anyone who on guard is likely to understand. Right? Well, I'll do that then. So, have you got everything you need from this particular drow? Are you all? Have you gotten all the information you need? You've not headed down into Moonglofow. If you need anything from there, if you wanted anything from there. Otherwise, you can turn and leave and head out towards the Dublin-Illawad, or to go and find Mosh. You did tell Mosh to come to Moonglofow at nightfall. Do you have any messages for Dolben while I'm going that way? He says, yes, actually, that's probably wise. if you wouldn't mind just one moment. And he leaves the table chairs set up, leaves you with the other guard, and he goes and gets some parchment and writes out a little note, parchment and quill. You sort of sit there in awkward silence, just hearing the scratching of this quill and parchment and the dipping of ink. Eventually rolls it up, comes back and hands you the scroll. It's got a wax seal on it from his own Moonglofow symbol, and he says, "If you wouldn't mind handing this to any of the elders of the village, it would be appreciated." How long till nightfall? It's still pretty early in the morning at this stage. You're probably about 9 a.m, maybe 10-ish. How long to the other village? Couple of hours walk. Should we let them know that a companion is going to arrive so that Mosh doesn't get shot in the evening? Yes, you see. By the way, just in case I don't manage to make it back here before nightfall, I have got a companion who's out in the forest. He's a human fella, and he is coming to. I told him to meet me at the base of this mountain at nightfall. So if you see a human guy on his own, you give him a vague description. He's about yay tall, blah blah blah. If you see him, he's a friend of mine. His name's Mosh. So no attacking him or anything. Understood. Thank you. Anything else you need to do without going before you go? Alright, so we are going to leave then. I think we have a lead on what might have attacked our friend, but I need to do some more investigation. I'll keep you informed. You say, yeah, as you're leaving the mouth of the cave, you say, I think I might have a lead on what attacked our friend Belladel, but I need to do more investigation, make sure that I'm actually... And he says, what is it? You say, I'd rather not say until I'm sure, because otherwise there's hearsay happens and, you know, rumours start about things that aren't true, and it's harder to quash them once they've started. And he says, right, I understand. As soon as I know more, I will definitely keep you informed. I hope you do. Thank you. And you leave the cave. You're heading straight to Dublin-Illawad, or are you going to try and find Mosh first and explain what you know to him? What's your plan? All right. I think it's just two options really: find Mosh or go to Dolbin. So can you estimate how long it'd be to find Mosh? I mean, it probably took you an hour from where you left Mosh to here, so it would probably be about an hour back to where you left him. But if he's doing, he could be anywhere in the forest right now. You told him to spend the entire day finding herbalism stuff, so he could be anywhere. So put a thumbs up yes if you want to go and try and find Mosh. You want to hunt him down in the forest, find where he is, and tell him all that you know about what you've just learned. Put a thumbs down in the chat, or I know, if you want to leave Mosh to do his thing and head to Dublin-Illawad first. Alright, looking like the nose will have it. With the full day ahead of us, we could go to Helverin for a displacer cloak. True. That's a good point. Alright, the nose definitely have it here, so we're not going to bother going to find Mosh. So we're heading east either way from Moonglofow. Do we want to stop off at Helverin on the way? It's going to be about a 2 hours walk to Helverin. Think of them as almost equally spaced. It's kind of like an equally spaced diamond that's been pushed in at the top and bottom just a little bit. So it's probably about an hour and a half walk to Helverin, and then from there about an hour and a half up to Moonglofow, rather than going direct. So do we want to stop off anywhere else, or do we want to go to Dublin-Illawad, or do we want to go to Arachel? Or we could even investigate the forest for the dangers and the unease that he was talking about, or any of these Gulthias trees or whatever. Is it still morning? Yes, we definitely have time to get the cloak if we want to. The cloak can wait. Go direct. Go to get the cloak. Direct. Direct. Most people are saying direct to Dublin-Illawad. Alright, so put a thumbs up if you want to go direct to Dublin-Illawad. Put a thumbs down if you want to do anything else, like going to get the cloak, or going to Arachel, or going to investigate the forest. Mel, I was here the whole time. Yeah, Mel was just buzzing about outside the cave mouth. The yeses definitely have the advantage. The no's are not too small a number. Might have to put this to a proper poll. I need a couple more people to decide yeses or no's. What are we doing? Yes to go directly to Dublin-Illawad now. A no to do anything else like picking up the cloak or whatever. It's pretty even, but the yeses definitely are in advantage here. All right, so we are going to we're going to move directly towards Dublin-Illawad instead then. So as you walk, I'm going to have you make another perception check to keep an eye out for things on the way in case there's dangers. Oh, nice, 19. 19 plus your forest bonus perception check takes it to a 27. With a 27, you notice that there is a different sense to the forest than the last time you were here about a month ago. About a month ago, it felt like any other forest when you walked between the two villages, when you made this journey between the two villages. But now it feels this sense of unease. It feels ominous as you walk. It feels like there is a malfeasance to the forest itself. And just like Trell was saying, it could well be an element of paranoia here. Now that you've been told to look out for it, you're feeling it. It's a sense of like nociception. You can't put your finger on what it is. There's just something doesn't feel right. It feels icky. It feels like something's not... Like the forest is still the same. The birds and insects and things are still chirping and tweeting, but there's a little bit of maybe fright to them. There's that sense that he was telling you about the animals being a little bit on edge. Everything seems normal though. The shadows are the same length as they should be. The smell in the air is as a forest should smell. It sounds and seems like a forest, but it just doesn't feel quite right. I have a bad feeling about this. Check for illusions. You absolutely can check for illusions. You do so. I will roll you a check in case there are illusions. Oopsie daisy. 4. My God, this green dice has been rolling really poorly for us today, and this gemstone dice has been rolling really well. With a 4 plus your perception check or your investigation check, as it were, if there are illusions, then the DC to see them is higher than what you've noticed. But given that you are trying to look out for illusions, you are like also touching the trees and like, you know, making sure to kick the stones that you're passing and stuff, and everything that you're touching seems real. Your hand is not passing through anything. So if there isn't any illusion going on, it's stuff that you're not noticing. Can we cast Primeval Awareness for Undead? We could if you want. Yep. Thumbs up if you want to use Primeval Awareness on anything. Thumbs down if you don't. For anyone who's not as used to rangers, Primeval Awareness is a feature that you can specify a number of types of creature, like dragons, undead, fiends, fae, whatever. And then you can set a radius and say like 100 meters from me or 2 miles. It costs you one of your spell slots, and basically it tells you whether or not those things are in the area of that you've specified. So you can say, are there any dragons within 2 miles? And it'll say yes or no. You can say, are there any fae, fiend, or undead within 20 feet of me? And it'll say yes or no. It doesn't give you any more information than that. It just tells you whether they exist in the area around you. It looks like it's kind of even here. I'm going to put it to a 1 minute poll just because it's a little bit too hard to call from the emotes alone. With 58% of the vote, pretty close, but with 58% of the vote, Apis decides, no, we're not going to cast Primeval Awareness. We're not going to use the spell slot for it yet. There's just this sense of unease, but they're not sure exactly what to put the finger on why it is. As you're walking, yes, you say, hey Mel, does the forest seem normal to you?
And she says, no, I wasn't sure if it was just me, but it feels off.
How does it feel?
It feels like I'm scared.
Is there any particular thing that you're scared of?
No, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I'm feeling it as well. I wanted to know from you whether it was anything that you could imagine why it.
No, the things are wrong. Things are wrong here. It is not. It is a normal forest, but it feels like not normal.
Are the insects scared as well?
Yes.
Can we ask the beetle if it can point to the cause of this new feeling to the forest? You can if you want, yes. You have your Wayfinder beetle, which is an item, as it were. It's a tiny little beetle that lives with you. It was given to you as a gift from a fairy from the Feywild. It is known as a Wayfinder beetle, and it can point the direction to things. You've not really tested out its full range of what it's capable of, but as you're approaching this Dublin-Illawad village on the walk there, you think to ask it out, and as you ask out the beetle, Wayfinder, it comes scuttling out from beneath one of your braces into the palm of your hand, and just kind of sits there, and you say, actually, Redal, what's the or anybody who wants to, what's the exact wording you ask of the beetle, because this is going to be important. Mel probably has PTSD, almost died to those blights. Yeah, she did, didn't she? She went down, didn't she? Have you felt anything like this before, Mel? And she says,
not really, no. It is not a nice place in that part that we go through sometimes between here and the other place. There is the part of the forest that we pass through where you sleep. I don't like that one, but it is not like that.
What is the epicenter of this uneasy feeling? I'm just going to roll something real quick because I need to check something. No shit. I gave it a percentage chance of working because of the choice of wording you used, and I gave it 60% chance of working, and I rolled a 61. I was 1% too high for it to work. So unfortunately, as you look at the beetle and you say that, it just kind of stares back at you and does nothing, and then it scuttles away back under your bracer. Does she mean the dead forest with the termites? Yeah, there's a good chance that she means the dead forest. Mel's not the greatest with words. Her intelligence is only a 6. The merry gentleman noticing all the times that we've used the beetle to not get to him. Like, what the fuck? I gave you this fucking beetle so that you could find a portal to the Feywild and come and talk to me. The beetle did not show any signs of being scared. It is much more of a magic item than it is an actual creature. All right, so you continue walking. Again, for all outward appearances, this forest is like a pleasant day, a pleasant springtime walk through the forest. The trees are in bloom, and the birds and insects are around, and the weather's nice, and there's no like ominous music playing. It should be a pleasant walk through the forest, but you've got this kind of tightness, this sort of anxiety that you can't really place. Why? What Spates said? What did Spates for the nearest portal? All right. So you think you continue walking. You're almost all the way to Dublin-Illawad. As you're getting close to Dublin-Illawad, you're thinking about the lack of answer from this beetle. So you check that it's still working by bringing it out and saying, "Can you show me the way to the nearest portal to another plane of existence?" Now, where you are, it would be... What are the chances? Let's have a look. Okay. It does take off down one of your fingers. Look at this cool ass dice. Northwest. As you're getting towards
Dublin-Illawad, you ask the beetle where the closest portal to another plane of existence is, and it takes off back up your thumb towards pointing in the direction of the northwest. Its little antenna jiggling in that direction on your hand. Close eyes and listen to the forest. Perhaps we'll hear something. With a 27 perception check earlier, if there was anything to hear, you would have heard it. So you wait for a moment, and then you re-ask the tom-tom again. Where is the direction to the nearest Fey portal? And this time it runs down your thumb and over to the base of the palm of your hand in this direction, and then you sort of turn and allow it to point in that direction, and it scuttles as you turn. It scuttles along your finger and up the ring finger and points in that direction. And using your Outlander abilities, from here it would be south by southwest. So the nearest portal to another plane of existence is in the northwest of where you are right now. But it is not a Fey portal, because the nearest Fey portal is south by southwest of where you are. There is a range it uses, correct? You don't know. You haven't tested the limits of this Wayfinder beetle yet. To test that if it can locate people, we ask the direction to Mosh. You do so. You ask what's the direction to our friend Mosh? It just stays sitting on the tip of your ring finger where it was before. It's kind of still pointing in the direction that it was pointing before. Well, we tried to find a portal. We can't be mad. Where is Benadryl? Ask it, where is the closest werefox? Again, it doesn't move from the tip of your ring finger. If there was a chance it would have worked, does it mean that the unease comes from a portal? Maybe. It might sense Fey portals further away, because that's its main purpose. It might well. Alright, so with lots of questions about this beetle and its uses running around in Apus's mind, you ask it one last question. Where's the closest source of magic? And it stays on the tip of your ring finger, not seemingly responding. Or perhaps responding, because everything you've asked it is all in the same direction, maybe. Eventually, you decide to carry on, and as soon as you sort of make that decision and start to move, it runs up the finger along your palm and up beneath one of your braces and disappears. And when I say disappears, it doesn't just disappear from sight. You don't feel it on your skin. You don't feel it running around beneath your bracer. It just seems to disappear into your clothing and vanish. You walk for another 10 minutes or so until you find the outskirts of Dublin-Illawad. This is the first time you've been here in about a month or so, and it is the town where they grow print flowers and use those print flowers for salves and potions and things like that. Given that you're a week and a bit after full moon when they harvest the flowers, they are in cultivation stage, recultivating the flowers to grow for the next full moon. And as you enter, you see that there's a few elves dotting about. It's the middle of the day by now, sort of about noon. What do you want to do? Announce ourselves loudly. Hail and well met, travellers! Oh, not travellers. Hail and well met, villagers! Get your panpipes out. Let's roll a panpipes check to see how well you do on your panpipes. Whoopsie daisy, that one bounced out, so let's use the green one. It was kind of a 9, but it was kind of cocked. 11, not bad. 11 plus 4, 15 panpipes check. Are we finally breaking the panpipes curse? We'll find out, I guess. 15 panpipes check because it's not important at all, so of course we do well. We start to play the panpipes. We call out, "Hello, it's me." You play a little ditty, and a couple of the villagers turn to see you coming. That awful noise can only mean one thing. Apis is here. Not risk sounding the war horns on these guys when we're on high alert. You notice on your way in that
if they have guards here in Dublin-Illawad, they have not done a very good job of guarding. There's nobody, you can see elves around the place, but there's nobody like in full plate mail or anything like that. Plate armor, I should say. You walk towards the nearest villages that you can see, though, and you see that they are armored. They're not in full plate. They're not even in breastplate like the guards that you just talked to, Trell, and the others. But they are wearing studded leather sort of armor. They're wearing light armor. They're wearing things that you didn't see them wearing before. They've got the leather shoulder pauldrons and upper arm guards, bracers and leather gloves and things. They're not seemingly standing guard with those things. They're going about their daily business. You can see a couple of them moving wheelbarrows about. You can see a couple of them just standing about on the street talking. But everybody is wearing this leather armor. I don't know what that letter is that we were given, but let's deliver it. All right. So let's let me pull up my notes on Dublin-Illawad real quick. Control find NPCs of Dublin-Illawad. Caelan is the spiritual leader here, and then we've got Talith, Githrin, Delwa, and Palmina. So I will say, for expediency's sake, you managed to find Caelan. Caelan is out on the street talking with somebody else. And you recognise her from your last time here. You say, hello, Caelan. And she turns and sees you and starts to make her way over. She's smiling and, Apis, it's wonderful to see you again. It's been a while. You have mail. You hand over the note from Moonglofow, and she says, is this oh, you come from Moonglofow? You say, yes, I was just there. I was chatting with one of the guards, and he said that he'd hand you this. She breaks it open, unfurls it, and reads. Close eye on her reaction to reading it. Okie dokie, let's roll you an insight check as you are watching her facial expressions as she reads. 17. This is incredible how well this one has rolled and how poorly this one's been rolling today. With a 17 plus your insight of 2, that's a 19. She has no, reaction, and she doesn't, narrow her eyes against you or anything like that. She just seems to read. Right. Then when she gets to the bottom, she kind of, thinks for a moment, and then she kills you. No, she seems like whatever she was told from the letter, it's nothing immediately. She doesn't immediately go into high alert mode or anything. She doesn't start immediately throwing out orders left, right, and centre. It's something that she's been told that is important information, it seems, but. Right, thank you. And she scrolls it up and puts it in her pocket. Right. Thank you. So it says here you're looking for Beladel? You say, yes. Yeah, I got to know him just a little bit while we were captives together and she says, Green Dragon, yes, it says. Say, yes, I have some of his stuff to give him back, and I wanted to. And she says, right. Can you tell me, sorry, when were you last here, Apis? Refresh my memory. You say, about a month ago, I was helping Delwyn with the pryn harvest, last full moon, not this one just gone, but the pryn harvest, and we helped you with you had injuries to your legs, and we. Why does everyone keep asking that? She says it's a security thing. I had to understand that you actually had the memories of the person you look like. We're on alert for dangers in the forest that can make themselves look like illusions or change their shape to other creatures. Shapeshifter problem. Yes, apparently, anyway. So we've been told to make sure that anyone entering the town, even people we are familiar with, are actually themselves. But please tell me, how did you meet Belladel again? You were captives together. Is that it? You did not know each other before? No, I didn't know him before that. We met in the captive. We met as captives of Lucifreak, and after we slayed Lucifreak together, he decided to leave with his wife and head for home in Arachel. So why do you have his things? I came across them in the forest. What is it you say about the reason you have the bag? Do you try and be as vague as possible, or what? What's the deal there? How much do you tell her about why you had it and why you happened to be in the area where he got attacked and such? Try and be vague. I was hunting in the Fair Woods, and I found an area where there'd quite clearly been an attack. There was a lot of blood around. I tracked it, and I found the place where it had obviously happened. A lot of blood, and I found this discarded bag. I continued to track the blood and the footprints, the tracks, and it led me to to Moonglofow, and then Moonglofow said that he had arrived there and had come here. Right. Not 100% true. You are lying by omission there. You are sort of omitting some very important details about how you actually found this bag. So I'm going to roll a deception check for you. And we rolled that one last time, so we're rolling this one today. I'm going to give the green one a chance to redeem itself. Hooyah! 14. See, above average. See, you got to give the dice a chance to redeem themselves. 14 plus our deception of 1, so 15. You're compressing the story, not lying. You know full well that is a deception. You are deceiving. It doesn't matter whether you're lying or not. There is a thing called lying by omission. You are omitting parts of the story that makes it sound like something else. You are deliberately deceiving her into trying to believe that you just happened across this bag in the forest, which is not the truth. Ergo, lying. Ergo, deception. We should dip into Rogue for deception expertise. You can just take... You did happen across it. You did not happen across it. You were with the man who attacked him, and then you were taken to the crime scene where it happened. You did not happen across it while you were out hunting in the woods. We're lying about details in the forest. You know full well that was a deception check. You knew more than you were letting on. You were trying to omit important details. All right. Shut up. I'm in charge, and I decided that was a deception check because it was quite clearly deceiving. We'll roll a gaslight check on Rob. You got a 15 anyway, so why are you fucking arguing? You got a 15 deception check. Okay. You are being good about your lying, your deception, and you tell her that you happened across this thing while you were out hunting or whatever, and you came and you told her our story, which is not lying. It is a fucking lying. I will kill Apis with a fucking rock. You know I'm stubborn enough to do that. Stop arguing. You were lying to her in a way. You told her as much of the truth as you wanted to, and you omitted very important parts of the story that made it seem like some other story indeed. That is not the story that happened. Therefore, it was a deception. Therefore, you rolled a deception check. She seems to buy your story, your lie, and she says, stop enraging the DM. She seems to buy your story and says, right, well, I have good news and bad news for you. Belladel did come here, and he is still here, but he was in a very bad way. Moonglofow had managed to patch up his immediate life-threatening wounds, and he is recovering from the rest. As you know, we have a certain amount, or we had a certain amount of resources available to us. It is very lucky that you were here for the last Pryn harvest, the previous Pryn harvest anyway, because it meant that we had more resources to help him with. It is also lucky that he came to us the morning after a full moon, when Githrin had managed to harvest more, and we had the freshest of potions and herbs to help him. The bad news, unfortunately, is that he is succumbing to something else now. We believe him to be infected by something, and he is very unwell. It is, I believe, starting to pass, but it has been 9 days now, and he is still barely able to pass through the night without help. Did you identify what could have bitten him? Says, yes, we have our theories, yes. Can I see him? Yes, of course. This way. She leads you into the village. Yeah, you said bit. I picked up on that. She picked up on that. You said bit. She never said bit. Nobody has said anything about being bitten until then. But you said it. It happened. So she walks you into the village. You follow her towards the one of the buildings in the center of town. And as she walks you into the room, you haven't been in this particular room before. You notice above the door there is like a little symbol to the goddess of healing. You know Flonenshale, or you know her as Flonenshale in the common tongue. It's basically a symbol of a woman with her arms outstretched to the skies like a tree, and then all around her arms and head and shoulders is this sort of canopy of leaves. She's this sort of tree-like woman with vines crisscrossing over her body, with small berries attached to the vines. And as she is, this symbol is above the door. As you walk in, you recognise that symbol usually as denoting like a hospital of sorts. It's a place of worship to the goddess of healing, Flonenshale. And you see in the dark there, with all of the curtains and shutters drawn in the dark, you can see that there is a bed in the corner that has Belladel in it, and Olathea is sitting in a chair at his side, looking very, very tired. She's sort of slumped forward, half asleep, which means that she must be very tired, given that she's an elf. They rarely need to actually sleep. They tend to go into trances more than anything. And so she seems like she's either in a very deep trance or she's actually sleeping. He is also not really moving. He's kind of tossing and turning a little bit, but they both seem like they're asleep. She, with sort of a shush symbol, she sort of ushers you in and closes the door behind, and she says, he will be needing a lot of rest. He's finding it difficult to get through the nights without waking. But of course, if you're welcome to stay here until he wakes. I will ask that you don't put him under too much stress. We would have seen Portrax with claws, another story about a large wolf-like creature from Trell. I don't think it's as big a deal as it seems. No, it's not that big a deal. It's not a huge jump for a hunter, especially like Apis, to assume that someone who has been attacked in the woods has probably been bitten. So Kaelin will leave you here with Olathea and Belladel, and she opens the door and leaves, and you're left in the dark with these two sleeping elves. Gently speak her name to wake her. Olathea. Olathea. She doesn't wake as you sort of gently whisper her name. Olathea. No, she's definitely tired, definitely out of it. Put on a dragon mask and wake them up. I don't believe you still have your dragon mask, do you? I imagine you got rid of it. Just sit down and wait. Alright, so you just sit and wait. I'm just going to roll to see how long it is before he wakes up. Alright, it's about 18 minutes before eventually he tosses and turns enough that it wakes himself up, and he kind of wakes with a bit of night terror, sort of no, and he wakes up, and you see her kind of startle as well a little bit, and she kind of just instinctively reaches out and grabs his hand and says something in Elvish. And yeah. And then his eyes kind of swarm over they swirl over the room, and they land on you, and you can see he's not quite focusing on you. But then he does, and his face goes into one of confusion. He's got quite a lot of sweat on his brow, and his hair's a complete mess. She seems to have just been kind of like gone back into this sort of trance-like state as she's holding his hand, but he's now looking at you. Hello there, General Kenobi. Say, it's all right, friend. I heard of your troubles. What are you doing here? She opens her eyes and follows his gaze over to you. Oh. And then she kind of looks between the two of you. Look what I found. He just puts his hand out. Give that to me. You place it on the end of his bed and say, You're safe here. I was worried. Why do you have this? I found it. Where? I found it in the woods. There was evidence of an attack. Blood. I followed it, and it led me to Moonglofow. I tracked you here. Thank you, he says as he looks through his belongings. Then he hands it over to his wife, who looks in as well and starts getting some things out and putting them on the bedside table. She hasn't said anything to you yet. When you're feeling a bit better, we need to talk. It's important. He says, I'm not sure that I will feel better. And she turns and says something like admonishing in tone to him in Elvish. I'm just being realistic, my love. I don't feel like it's passing. Well, you're looking a lot more rough than the last time I saw you. Yes, it has been an unpleasant week for me. Well, what I have to talk to you about might be something that could help you recover. His eyes sort of sharpen on you a bit, and she turns over her shoulder to look at you better. You might still recover from this. That's why I'm here. He sits up, and there's a bit of a... As he sits up in the bed, you hear the springs of the bed groaning, and she turns around, and he says, You know what happened to me? What I tell you now, you must keep to yourself. For your own protection. Both of them are hanging on your every word now. I thought these folk were cool. I thought the racists were the last time. No, these two are quite racist as well. Or at least they were when you were together in the captivity of the Green Dragon. He seems to have respected you a little more. You earned some of his respect when you slayed the Green Dragon. Explain what happened without exposing Moshe's identity. You say, I have the suspicion that you were attacked by a were creature. He says,
It's no shit, stupid. Of course I was attacked by a were creature. It was during a full moon. And I wouldn't be feeling like this if it was a normal fucking wolf now, would I, you idiot? Has anybody tried to remove curse on you? No. No one has it. Mentioning that we'd helped the sisters warmed him to us a little bit more. That's true. Explain the part where he can get help from someone who's been through it. That seems like you're choosing to mention Mosh at that point, because you can't mention like, oh, I know a guy who's been through this without explaining who that guy is, really, can you? So it's up to you guys. What do we? Not yet. Don't mention Mosh yet. What are you guys thinking? You need to help me out in the chat here. There's a lot of quiet chat going on. I need you. You're the one in this scene. You need to tell me what you're asking him and what you're telling him and stuff. Tell him that we know a weird creature that's willing to help. Maybe ask if the people in the village have experience healing weird curses. Say, do you know if the people here they know it's a weird creature? Yes. And do you know if they've got any experience healing them? There are things that they can do, things that they've never dealt with one before, no, but there is plants around that can help ease the process into it. They've been providing some, and he gestures over to his side of his table where there's a few discarded bowls and cups and things with half-drunk liquids and stuff inside. Are they on the lookout for them? Yes. Ooh, yeah, a lot of people aren't agreeing that we should talk about that yet, Batmap. Let's put it to a poll, eh? Thumbs up if you want to tell him that you know someone without giving Mosh's name away necessarily. Put a thumbs up if you want to tell him that you know someone who has been through the weir curse and might be able to help. Put a thumbs down if you want to not mention the fact that you know someone with a weir creature curse. How can we help you? You said you knew more about this. Is all you know that it was a suspicion that it's a weir creature? If there's anything else I can do to help, I'm happy to help you. Alright. Overwhelming no. Apis is not going to bring up the fact that they know anybody with this curse yet. Are you willing to accept this curse if that is what it is? And his wife sort of scoffs and takes over for once, and this is the first time that she's probably actually spoken to you directly. She is always been kind of a stand behind him and stay quiet kind of a person. But she says, "Of course he's not going to accept this curse. Who accepts a curse? What a stupid question to ask." And she turns to him like you're endangering him by asking such stupid questions. He, on the other hand, doesn't answer, but kind of looks like he's got less will to put up a fight. I'm worried that Mosh is going to get encountered by a were hunting party now. Let's go find him. If we tell him we found them, they're healing, and ask how to help. Too much of a lie to say that we have prior experience with werefolk? I mean, no, it's not a lie at all. You have got prior experience with werefolk. You say, I'm not saying that he should accept being cursed. I'm just saying that, from my understanding, if you don't accept a curse, if you try to fight it, if you lose, it can be worse. Is the wife cursed too? Doesn't seem like it. She seems real tired, but she's not in a bed. It doesn't seem like they've been treating her like a patient.
Can we tell them what Mosh told us about his curse without revealing our sources? Yeah, we could do that. We say, look, I don't know a lot about this, but I've heard and read quite a lot in my life, and one of the things I know is that the curse wants to be taking hold. And if you fight it and win, that's fine. That's great. That's what we all want. But if you fight it and lose, it can be a lot worse for you. It can mean the end. And his wife turns and says, "You have no right to be stressing my husband out like this. I think you should leave." And he puts his hand on hers and says, "How do I know if I'm losing?" From what Killen tells me, it sounds like you're slowly getting better, and it might not feel like it, I understand, but if you are getting better, I think you're not losing the fight. It may get to the point where you have to choose, though, whether to embrace it or resist it. If the alternative, you turn to her to kind of like cut her off, as she's sort of like, she's angry fish mouthing, not sure what to say, and you just like, if the alternative is death, you might be better to embrace it. I know that there are people who have embraced the curse and go on to live almost normal lives. He doesn't say anything to that, he just kind of looks at her, and she looks back at him. While if you're alive, the curse can be removed. But if you fail, it's a lot harder to bring you back. So what is your intention now? You've relayed a lot of the information that you know about were curses without giving away that you know a guy who is a were fox, and especially not giving away the guy that you know the guy who actually did this to him. I've heard that curse's power is strongest at the full moon, so the stronger it gets to the... Yeah. I've heard that the curse's power gets strongest at the full moon. The closer you get to a new moon, the easier it should be to fight. Let's hope so, he says, kind of under his breath. If we can cure him, maybe we can help Mosh. Good point. Let him sit with it for a day, go grab the cloak, and then go find Mosh and tell him what happened. What do people think about that plan? Is that all we need to do here with Belladel? It seems he is infected with the were curse, and will eventually become a werefox or die. Unless there's something you can do to prevent it beforehand. Do they know of someone with a remove curse? Do you know of anybody in town or out of town that has remove curse? And both of them shake their heads. And he says, if we knew that, obviously I wouldn't be in this predicament, would I? It's been a week since I... And she says, you just rest. And she sort of tries to lay him back down on his pillows again. Just rest, it's okay. And then she starts to speak to him in Elvish. No, he just says to you again. Do you know someone? The Merry Gentleman would probably be able to do it. Do you know of anybody else? You've not really met any clerics on your journeys, have you? Not yet. There's no clerics in Shadridge and there's no clerics in Fondurg. Maybe the King's Guard might have had somebody who could have done it, but they've probably left Fondurg by now. So now you probably don't know anybody in particular that could do it. Maybe Vala? Yeah, maybe Vala. He does not remember his encounter with the armored guards fight. You haven't checked. What do you guys want to do now? You have been left with a tired and stressed and ill Belladel and his tired and stressed and angry wife, Olafare. You know more than you have let on to either of them. How long till the next full moon? A while yet. It's only a week and a half since the last one, and it's 4 weeks. Every 4 weeks there's a full moon. Let me check my notes for an exact date for you if you like. It is the 26th of Alterbris. It won't be till the 16th of next month. So I will say, what's that? Rest of today, and then the 27th, 8th, 9th, 30th, 31st, 32nd, and then 16 more days on top of those 7 takes it to 23. 23 days until the next full moon. We should consume a few torches for more fire arrows, but more torches... Last time I'll bring it up, I promise. Yeah, we should do. Prepare some more fire arrows so you've got more than 4. That's a good one, Wraith. You say, if I could find someone who's been through this, someone in the same boat as you, would you be interested in their help? And he gets angry and sort of violently sits himself back up again, throws his hands down and sits up and says, I don't want the help because I don't want to become what they are. I don't want to become the thing that did this to me. I don't want that. So no, I don't want help. I want to get better. I want to be healed. If you want to help me, find someone who can remove this from me. And as he's kind of like sitting up, you can see he's kind of like wincing through pain and stuff as he shouts, and his wife's got her hands on his shoulders and is trying to like, it's okay, trying to calm him down. It's all right. She's speaking to him in Elvish. Look, I'm sorry. I'm trying to help you here. He lies back down again, wincing in pain. And she rubs that side of his face that seems to be going into cramp. The muscles are stretching and changing, and he's not ready to accept it. He seems like he's definitely not going the embrace route of the 2 options. Not ready to accept it. We can look for a cure, and if that doesn't work, he might accept help then. That's what Del must do, yeah. Says something like, look, I'll do my best, but I'm just saying there may be no choice. The front door opens at this point, and Kaelin sticks her head back in and says, is everything alright? And Olafare says, no, and Kaelin says, Apis, I think you should leave. Perhaps it's taking a little toll on him at the moment. And as you turn to leave, she says back to Olafare, Olafare seems like she's going to say something to rebut that, but doesn't. And turns around to sort of mop her husband's brow with a wet cloth again from a bowl on the side table. You close the door behind you as you leave the room that he's in. She got admonished. She did. She told Olafare off for using a racist slur against you and said that you were a friend of the village. So don't use that language about them, please. I know that tone anyway. I'm glad that I could portray it in such a way that you understood it in a completely made-up fantasy gobbledygook, right? So you are back out in the village with Kaelin. It's just after noon. You've said that if you can find someone who can remove curse, can cast the spell remove curse, then you know that's going to be the greatest of help. But otherwise, you may have to get Mosh to try and help him, and he doesn't seem willing to accept help yet. Do you happen to know anyone nearby who may be able to remove curse? She says, I'm afraid not. We've been asking around since he arrived. Did he tell you it was a curse? You say, I'm pretty sure I know what it is. She says, right. Yes, it's all signs point to that, doesn't it? You say, I'm afraid so. I don't have
powers like that. Neither does my sister. No one in our towns do, as far as we know. There may be someone in Arachel who might be able to do something similar, or you don't know anyone in Shadridge who can do it. I'm afraid not. It's not common magic. We are doing our best with what we have. Are there any healing potions or salves that I can purchase? By the way, just changing topic. Any healing potions or salves I can purchase? I've been needing them quite a lot of late. She says, well, normally, yes. We've used a few on your friend in there. And also, Arachel has asked us to stock up quite a lot for an upcoming trouble. We might be able to spare you a couple. I don't blame her for being upset. Her husband's not well and tempers are thin at the moment. Yes. She's I'm sure she's not like this usually. And you bite your tongue thinking she probably is. Do you have any rumours of anyone who can remove curses? Anything that might point me in the right direction? If we knew, I'm afraid I would have been exploring this since he arrived. It became quite plain to me after a day here. It became quite clear to me what was responsible. I hope you understand that if your friend is unable to fight this thing, he will not be able to stay here. I understand. If we buy salve, Rob will make us need it again. If you don't need it, if you don't have salve and I make you need it, you'll not have it. Pick up a cloak, find Marsh, explain he doesn't want his help at all, but we might know someone who can remove curse. And we're off to find him. Agreed. Best plan, worst plan, maybe? Thoughts? Up to you. I think we should try send a message to Vala to see if we can get help there. Leave the cloak for now and go find Mosh. Is there any temple around? She says a temple to whom? Is there like a temple to the gods? Just for worship? There are individual places of worship, but there is no temple, so to speak. At least not in Dublin-Illawad. I don't believe in Moonglofow or Helwrin either. I believe Arachel might have a multi-purpose temple, at least to the Temple of the Knowledge Gods. I think we've got time for that cloak. We're not slated to meet up with Mosh till nightfall. It's only noon, correct? The only one I know of at a level that could remove this curse just happens to be an archfey. The only person I know of, or the only being I suppose that I know of that's powerful enough to remove curses, and I don't know if he can do it or not, but he's an archfey, and he lives in the Feywild. And she says, "You know an archfey?" He said, "I don't know him. No, very much not know him. I wish I knew him more. Maybe I'll understand what he wants." I've met an archfey a few times, usually in dreams and things, and apparently once in the Feywild that I can't remember. She says, yes, unfortunately the Fey has that effect on minds of those who aren't from there. Yes, well, apparently I've been there and apparently he's spoken with me and he wants me to go and speak with him again. I could make that journey, but by the nature of the Fey I can't make any guarantee. Yes, I understand. I would not ask you to do that on our behalf. The Feywild can be a twisted and mercurial place. Some people who venture there don't come back. And those that do often don't remember it, as you said. Or they are changed in some way. Quite often they are different. It's not a journey to be taken lightly. Pretty sure Vala doesn't have remove curse. We are rather sure that the old chap is cursed, and she was as yet unable to help him. Yeah. I'm trying to catch up with what your guys are saying. Pray to Ultimas for a hunt to find someone that can remove curse. Hunting them. More of a seek than a hunt. You're not really hunting them. Ultimas is the god of the hunt, but also god of beasts and things. So it's really just when you're hunting beasts that Ultimas will help out. We should try contact Vala. Alright. A few people saying that. Back to Shadridge with Mosh. Make sure he gets there safely. Who's the deity of healing? Flonanshale. The Archfey kind of seems to be desperate for me to come. I think I'm going to be heading there. You say, yes, I understand the dangers. Unfortunately, the Archfey seems insistent that I visit him. And she's really curious about that. See, I've been visited a couple of times by assistants of his, minions, whatever you want to call them, fairies and fae, and she says, "You're fae touched." You say, "No, I wouldn't say that." But I have been influenced by the fae in a number of ways throughout my life, and he has sent some things to tell me that he is waiting for my arrival. He wants to talk to me for some reason, and for some reason he wants me to go to him. Right. So I might be going there anyway, one way or another. I can always ask him when I go there if he can remove curse and if he will help my friend. I will say then, be very careful. So, it seems that you want something from him, yes, in his help at removing this curse, and it seems he wants something from you. For us, on this plane of existence, for people who have been raised in this world, that seems like a normal interaction. You want something from him, he wants something from you, you help each other out. In the Feywild, it is very easy to make a contract, and binding to that contract is unique and different for the Fae. You can enter into contracts without realizing you have, and the wording of your contracts can be tricky, manipulated. You have to be very, very careful when you are agreeing to anything. You have to be very careful when you are giving up anything, even if it feels like it's mutually beneficial. Even accepting things, gifts, food, plates, someone offering to take your coat. It is a tricky place. You can get trapped there in a number of ways, physically and metaphorically. Just be careful when you are asking for anything from one so powerful. Thank you for the advice. I appreciate that. Do you know of any types of potions of clear thought or anything along those lines? Batmurp, do you mean like potions that will help help Apis make decisions? Because no amount of magic's going to do that. Make Apis word things gooder. Potions that could help me to be clearer on my wording when I'm asking for things from people, retain memory, that sort of thing. There are such potions. We don't tend to make them here, but we could look into it if that's something that you would want commissioned. We know a group of people that may have the ability to assist with Belladelk. You send a messenger to them with a note from us. I know a group of people in Fonderg. Do you know Fonderg? I don't know if she does. No. It's a town south of Shadridge. I know a group of people there that have magic. Sort of arcane magic.
if you have anyone that you could send a message for me, either magically or otherwise. It says we don't really leave the fair woods, especially not current times, I'm afraid. I do have a question for chat. Getting back, that's the same thing I read before. Potion of eloquence. Potion of eloquence, yeah. So she said, in regards to the potion of eloquence or the potion of clear thoughts, potion of wording things gooder, she could potentially get the potion makers in town to work on something like that if you were interested, but you'd have to commission it and then come back and pick it up at some point. There's a small chance, but do you happen to know of any way to remember past experiences in the Feywilds? She says, yes, it can be done. There is a sort of... The magic is not in making you forget, it is in making you disconnect from your ability to remember, if that makes sense. It seems like the same sort of thing, but your ability to remember is still there, but you cannot access that memory. You cannot access the ability. So anything that can remove effects done to your mind, there are magics that can affect the mind, and anything that can remove those will remove the same effect on your memories of your Feywild. The longer it has been since that memory, then the less likely it is to be clear memories, of course. In mechanical terms, remove curse can help, and also remove curse can help, and also modify memory can help as well. Do you have any potions that do that? I'm afraid not. No, we have very little reason to do it. Not only do the people of the Four Sisters not tend to move to the Feywild, even if we did, elves are of the lineage that are less affected by the memory problems from traversing the plains. All right, so what are we going to do, guys? We've got the information we've been given. Do we want to go get the cloak? Any advice on where I might get that done? It's the same as you're looking for at the moment anyway. You're looking for someone who can remove curse. Sort of people who can remove curse can probably also modify memories, and somebody with powerful magic. Merry Gentleman can almost definitely do those things, because he's a very powerful archfey. Any like very powerful wizards might be able to do it. Clerics. Cloak, Mosh, Merry Gentleman. Alright, who is up for getting the cloak first? The cloak is probably between you and Mosh. To give you an idea, imagine you are at 3 o'clock. The cloak is at like above 6 o'clock. The Feywild portal that you caught onto before is probably somewhere below 5 o'clock. And Mosh was somewhere over 9 o'clock ways. Alright, let's go get our Displacer Beast cloak. So we thank Kaylin for her assistance and her information, and we set off into the forest to go and find our cloak, to go and make our way to Helwrin and to claim our cloak if indeed it is finished and ready and enchanted by now. I'm going to roll a perception check for you on your way as you journey. That is a 16 plus your forest bonus. Very good perception checks, keeping yourself out in the forest where you're familiar with your ranger abilities. Mel being a second pair of eyes, with a 16 plus your forest bonus takes you to a 24 perception check. You manage to get again that sense of ominousness from the forest around you as you walk. It does seem to lessen. With a 24, you can also tell it seems to be lessening in its severity as you are going south towards Helwrin. It takes you about an hour and a half or so until you get to the outskirts of Helwrin, and when you get there, you see that the village is mostly like it was before. Only now they have erected a what's it called? Sentry tower. They've erected a sentry tower on either end of the town proper. This is mostly hunting, farming, gathering kind of town. Relatively small, mostly just hunters and farmers and leather workers here. this is where you left the leather, the skin of the displacer cloak to tan into a proper cloak. You walk up to the village. You see the sentry tower. There is somebody in the sentry tower looking, and you sort of give them a bit of a wave, and they recognise you. In fact, for argument's sake, let's say it's Verin. Verin, the hunter friend of yours, sees you coming and says, "Apis, it's a pleasure to see you here. It's been a long time, my friend. Stay there, I'll come right down." He comes down his ladder and comes on over, and you explain why you're there. It's been a while. Things happened, yada yada. Dragon, catch him up on a few of the stories. You say, "I'm here to see if my cloak has been done, I understood." And he says, "Yes, good timing, my friend. It was finished yesterday." And it really was. Like, this whole time, as soon as I had the cloak in and said how long it was going to take, I put it into my calendar that on the 25th of Altabris it would be finished, and the enchanting would be done on it. And it is now the 26th. So you got there just the day after your cloak was finished enchanting. He says, "Yes, they finished enchanting it yesterday. We were trying it out. Hope you don't mind. Let me take you to it." Yay for getting sidetracked, I know, right? He takes you along the road to Talila's house. Talila, for those who weren't here, or those who just need a reminder, Talila is a young elven woman, terrible with common. She's very big language barrier between you and her, but she's super cute and shy kind of a person. She's a bit of an alchemist, a bit of a artificer of sorts. She's a bit of a tinkerer. She likes to cook. She likes to garden. She's very intelligent and kind. And she is the one who's been enchanting your cloak. You walk up the road past her beautiful garden and whatnot, and Verin knocks on the door for you. And Talila, Apis Lathrang, we through Wasior. Don't ask the robbers now that us move. Yeah? What is it about it? Aha! And then there's a click at the door, and she opens up, and she's got like a really dark black smudge across her forehead, and she's sweating a little bit. It looks very hot in there. It's like all of her drapes and her windows and shutters are closed, and she's got candles burning. She's also got a hearth on, and it's the middle of the day in a springtime day that's relatively clear. So it's odd that she's got herself all shut up inside with a hearth going, but whatever. She's sweating with this smudge on her forehead, and hello. You are here. And you say, yes, I am here. And Verin says, I have to go. I have to be looking out for the town. But swing by the town before you leave, of course. Swing by the tower. And you say, yeah, of course. And he leaves and gets back up onto his sentry tower. So she gestures you inside and closes the door behind you, and whoo, boy, is it hot in here. Hot and relatively dark, lit by candles and lanterns and the hearth. And she says, "Come, you are here." You say, "Yes." And she says, "You are here, coat." You say, "The cloak, yes. Have I interrupted your work? Did I interrupt your work?" Yes. And she gestures to a seat beside you. Are you busy? Are you busy now? And she says, yeah. Oh, yes, busy. Thank you. You take a seat in this very comfortable armchair in front of the fire. That vacant look. Perception check around the place, see what she's doing. Let's have a look around, eh? Dice cam. Perception check, natural 1. With our natural 1 on perception check, we're kind of like blinking through the darkness, and it's not that you're not good at looking, it's just that she's got so much going on in her house that it's hard to know what she was presently working on when she was working. There's there's just kind of bits and bobs and half tinkered with things on every table. There's like broken apart clockwork toys, and there's gears around the place and stuff. There's slips of wood that have been shaved into like wand shapes that are kind of laid around the place, and just lots of things about the place. So with your perception, it's not enough to know what indeed she was actually working on right before entering the door. So I hear you finished the cloak, and she says yes, and she turns and rushes out of the room, leaving you there. Start saying it louder and slower. It's foolproof. Yeah. You sit there for a moment. There's like this rattle and something definitely falls in the next room over. Oh. And then just kind of kicks the door. The door to the next room opens, but it opens up against butts up against something that has now fallen, and she kind of just squeezes through the gap and comes out with your cloak in hand. It is a beautiful looking displaceably beast cloak. You did a fairly good job of skinning it, if I recall correctly, as well. It is this shimmering, very dark ink blue. It's like squid ink, and it's kind of shimmers in the light a little bit of the candles and things as it flickers and flames. She lays it out over the top of some junk on the coffee table in front of you, and you can see that it's all really beautifully tanned. They managed to do a good job of turning it into really supple leather, while retaining its beautiful sheen, the coat of it. And as she lays it down over the table, it kind of like shimmers a little bit as it's catching the light. It's reflecting back off the light and projecting its own image a little bit to the right, which as the flickering as the flickering hearth in the flame in the fireplace moves, it moves the shimmery illusion as well over the top of itself. She takes it off and puts it around her shoulders, and as she puts it around, the two displaceable beast tentacles drape down the front of her, and they look very fashionable. She takes a clasp at the very top and clicks it shut, and as soon as she clicks it shut, her form just appears into two different forms that both kind of like shimmer over the top of one another, in and out of one another, making it very difficult to know where exactly she is. She does a little twirl, and one of her forms seems to be doing so in the middle of the table, and then it comes out. It sort of replaces her as well. That is a very beautiful cloak, you say, and she says, "Thank you." And you draw a giant heart on our cloak, and 2 thumbs up. She seems to be understanding that you're loving it as well. You've done a very lovely job. Wasn't the tanning free and the enchanting priced? Yes, that's how I imagined it. I'd have to go back and double check to be sure, but I think that they were going to tan it for you, turn it into tan and weave. So there's 3 processes to it essentially. You skinned it already. You need to turn the flesh into actual tanned leather. Then you need to turn the leather into an actual cloak, and then you need to enchant the cloak. So that's the first 2 processes were like as a thank you for helping the town out. That was several weeks of work, so they were just doing that for free anyway, and that's quite a lot of gift. And then the actual enchanting process is the bit you were going to pay for. Roll a constitution save to not become motion sick. Yeah. All right. So you will get your cloak. She hands it out to you. You already are wearing a cloak, so you take off, you unclasp your cloak of many fashions, and you lay that out with its big, beautiful love heart on it, and giving it a thumbs up. You replace it with your cloak, your new cloak, your displacement cloak. You click it shut, and immediately your vision stays the same, but your image shifts a little. You look down at your own hands. You can see through the illusion yourself easily enough, so it doesn't disorient you as you're trying to grab for things. You can see through your own illusion, but you can see this very faint, like an image where the opacity has been turned on all the way down to like 5 or 10%. You can see this kind of waving above yourself as you reach out for things and put your arms out to admire your own cloak. She gives like a little squeal of delight, and she's super happy with herself. She rushes forward and sort of adjusts the cloak that was caught on your belt a little bit, so now it's gorgeous. And she takes a step back, and she's really happy with her work, it seems. You now have a Displacer Beast cloak, guys. Congratulations. And for once, I'm not going to end on a cliffhanger. I'm going to end it there with you getting your Displacer Beast cloak. We will pick up in this exact moment next time, but unfortunately I have lots extra to do today, so we'll leave it there for today. I'll see you next week. Bye! Did you know my patrons get a lot of special perks, like access to all of my homebrewed rules and stats and spells and feats and all sorts of things? Check it out.